Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is going to release at the end of June, and red flags have been going off for me since the creators, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, left the project. But Kathleen Kennedy was still staying on as producer, and a lot of inside sources were saying that she was in control of this movie, which has worked so well in the past. And after a lot of leaks of the film's plot were being released, with even the original ending being leaked about Indiana Jones being erased from the timeline of every movie and being replaced with his goddaughter, Kathleen Kennedy was apparently ordered to do reshoots by Bob Iger and even the previous CEO Bob Chapek, and it seems that they have removed and changed that woke ending, but still, the movie has received bad critic reviews as well as poor word of mouth from people in the theatre who watched the movie, with audience members apparently speaking to each other in French due to how bored they were. Now usually, I don't put much stock in the critic reviews for Rotten Tomatoes, but something did just occur to me recently, something I always knew but it was at the back of my mind, and nobody else has asked this question. Studios usually have review embargoes, meaning that they will provide early screenings of a movie for critics to see, with the caveat that critics are not allowed to post their reviews until the embargo is lifted, which is usually a day or two before the movie comes out, and that's usually if they want to prevent spoilers, or if the movie is very bad. So this way, the studio is able to contain all of the bad press, and it happens at the last minute when the majority of people have already booked their tickets. The only time they remove the embargo sooner is if they are very confident in a movie, such as the very early review embargo being lifted with War for the Planet of the Apes, but usually, studios are very protective over the word of mouth for their movies, hence they lift the embargo right before the film releases to the public. So with that in mind, you can't help but wonder, why did Disney lift the review embargo for Indiana Jones 5 a whole month before its release? They would have seen this coming, especially since they performed countless test screenings. Well, my guess is that they knew it was going to get bad reviews. I mean, even insiders were saying that Disney and Bob Iger were very unhappy with the producer Kathleen Kennedy and her management of this movie, her creative choices, as well as going massively over budget, which she has done before, and they were reportedly very upset with her then as well. If you ask me, the reason they lifted the review embargo sooner is because they knew this movie was going to be poorly received, and I think this shows that Disney want Kathleen Kennedy fired as soon as possible. And by allowing the bad reviews to come in this early, they already have a very effective narrative building that she is a liability. And to further prove this point, the media that usually praises Kathleen Kennedy and calls fans out who do not like her Star Wars as toxic are now starting to release articles where they are actively calling her out. So did Disney CEO Bob Iger want her out so badly that he thought, let the bad reviews come out early and further damage her reputation, so when I fire her, people will not scream out sexism. And just in case they do, I will allow this book, Burn It Down, Power, Complicity and a Call for Change in Hollywood to be published, which apparently has a lot of compromising information regarding racism from people within Hollywood, including, you guessed it, Kathleen Kennedy. This is the kind of thing that Disney would have the power to prevent from being published, but the timing of it is perfectly in line with the release of Indiana Jones 5 and her potential firing. And on top of that, the media who usually protect Kathleen Kennedy and her woke choices with beloved male characters, and especially with strong female characters, are now calling her out. I mean, the BBC, the epitome of woke programming, who gave us this line from Doctor Who,
"Don't be ridiculous, Franklin. I've read the files. The Doctor is a man."
I've had an upgrade. Hi.
and recently gave the worst interview in the history of interviews, said this in their review of Indiana Jones 5. "I'm not sure how many fans want to see Indiana Jones as a broken, helpless old man who cowers in the corner while his patronizing goddaughter takes the lead, but that's what we're given, and it's as bleak as it sounds." Yep, you heard that right. Not only does it sound like that is what we're getting, which is very in keeping with Kathleen Kennedy, but this is the BBC. They usually love this kind of stuff, and they are the ones criticizing this movie now. What is happening? This just shows that the tide is turning in Hollywood, because the woke elements of Hollywood, such as the forced female empowerment, the old hermit male characters, with additional points if they are morphed into complete failures or even villains, this stuff has isolated the core fan base, families, and even your average moviegoer, to the point that movies you'd think would make money are now starting to flop at the box office because people are wise to this kind of stuff now. They can tell the difference between a Hollywood ego trip and a passionate piece of storytelling that very effectively incorporates diversity but prioritizes great storytelling and character development. Hollywood has probably been in denial or lied to themselves in the past, but the numbers can't lie. These movies are performing so incredibly well, and with the amount of failures that Disney have had lately, and with the recent firings they've been doing, it sounds like they want to go back to what they usually used to do, which was make great movies. And let's not forget, Disney and Bob Iger allowed this kind of press to get out a whole month before Indiana Jones 5's release. And they could have delayed these reviews until the last second if they wanted to, like all studios usually do, but they didn't. So either Disney are incredibly out of touch and thought that fans would love this kind of publicity, or they wanted this kind of publicity to get out early so they had everything they need to back Kathleen Kennedy against a wall and have her cower in the corner. So why are they turning on Kathleen Kennedy? Is it because they are tired of this kind of lazy storytelling? Or is it that the tide is turning against this kind of filmmaking? Because remember, the trades are there to serve the studios, and when the studio wanted to act all politically minded and pro-minorities, the media followed and enabled them, even insulting those with genuine criticism towards a movie. But after several failures and franchises that have been severely damaged as a result of their political agendas over genuine storytelling, it seems like they have actually had enough of the quote-unquote woke movies that longtime fans seem to have such big problems with. So much so that at Marvel they fired Victoria Alonso, who was considered within the company as untouchable. And yes, she was the one who said that the X-Men name was outdated, and then a movie titled The Mutants was announced. Additionally, they recently fired 75 people that all happened to be in charge of the Lightyear movie. And I have been telling you for a while now that the Acolyte show is not even being filmed, yet Kathleen Kennedy mentioned it at Star Wars Celebration, as well as a new Rey movie that is also not going to happen because apparently she announced it behind Bob Iger's back. So these two projects are not happening and never were. So all of this negative press for Indiana Jones 5 sounds like a deliberate plan to give Kathleen Kennedy the worst reputation possible so no one is surprised or can call out sexism of the company once they fire her. But I can't help but still look at Bob Iger and think, why didn't you do this sooner? Because Kathleen Kennedy has screwed up Star Wars, Willow, and by the sounds of things, Indiana Jones. So yeah, you can fire her, but at this point, she has left so much damage in her path that it honestly feels too late to fire her. In the words of Darth Vader,
now his failure is complete.
So we will see if Indiana Jones 5 is as bad as the critics' reviews and early viewers say. But this movie seems to be weaponized within the company, and it is very, very unusual for 1 month early screenings to lift their review embargoes like this. I mean, even The Flash, which was screened early, and even Across the Spider-Verse, movies that are getting nothing but fantastic word of mouth and are very safe bets with their quality, are not having their review embargoes lifted until a couple days before their release. This just shows you how out of the ordinary this is. Regardless, I will be seeing this movie when it comes out, and as always, I will give it a fair shake. But proceed with caution. It's clear that the studio doesn't have any faith in this movie. That's why they lifted the embargo a whole month before the film came out. This is not the kind of press that the studio wants for a big budget blockbuster, but it seems that they have already written it off and are already looking at who's gonna get fired, and all eyes are on Kathleen Kennedy. Hi everyone, it's Eric, and I would just like to take the opportunity to thank my patrons. I really appreciate the support, and as I have previously stated, I am working to relaunch my Patreon with new shows as well as surveys which will allow you, the viewer, to take part in future Versus videos. If you want to start supporting me now, you can, and will be automatically awarded the new perks once they go live. For those of you that can't support me via Patreon, that's fine. Instead, please do consider giving the video a like, a comment, and feel free to share the video on your social media. This is incredibly helpful as it massively helps the video get more reach on YouTube's incredibly unreasonable algorithm, and for those of you that are new to my channel, please do subscribe so you can stay updated with future Versus videos as well as other content. Thanks very much as always for watching everyone, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.